Alright, welcome to KXCR Round 2 coverage here on Nosy Goes Motoblog. I'm starting here this race in row 12, which is a combined Senior C and Vet C row. I started on the far outside left because I knew we had to curl around here, kind of an S-curve, and go up this hill. A lot of the inside lane guys got up there first. There's a jump off to the right that you see guys taking, and I went to the left to miss that. I think it turned out to be a semi-smart move, as you see a lot of guys on the ground there. Those were the jumpers. So I avoided that. Come on down here through the field and pasture area, and then do a creek cross before we go up into the woods. He goes right and I go left. I think left is the faster line, but I think we kind of end up right back up next to each other when we come back together. There he is. This was an 8.5 mile course, they said. A little bit different format this year. We're doing 100-minute plus a lap. But these laps were so long that didn't really have much meaning. There were guys out there well into the 2.5, 3 hour mark sometimes. So a lot of race, a lot of time out on the course. I'm just going to show you my first lap here, and plus a little bit extra so you can see the enduro section that followed the the start-stop line at the timing trailer. We did kind of this unique enduro section that you don't see in this first lap. You can see it's kind of dusty here. It had started to sprinkle while we were on the start line. Doesn't really become a factor in the higher places that have the trees, and really not at all until late in the race. Some of the more exposed areas became slick. This is Clay City, Kentucky, and it's known for that clay. And mud could be an issue here, but when there's just a little bit of rain, it makes a real slick, greasy surface, which becomes fun to deal with. Kind of thinking it wasn't going to rain. I just ran more or less intermediate tires, soft intermediate. Near the end of the race, I wish maybe I had my gummies on. This is the motocross section of the course. KXCR added this last year. It's pretty cool. I'm not any good at motocross, but I think it's fun to ride on. So this race course they had set up for us here at round 2 is really, in my mind, a smorgasbord of what the Holler has to offer. They kind of took us everywhere, and you got to see everything. So 8.5 mile course. As you'll see, we'll end up in the tallest ridges on the property, and just several hill climbs, several downhills. A lot of pre-existing trails, but then some fresh cut stuff too that gave me some trouble here and there, so you'll see. Most everything here that you've seen is older trail. had a little trouble there. I lose track of the hill climbs in this race. There's a lot of them, and some of them come up unexpectedly. This wasn't so much the case with this one, but you can just tell we're just still gaining elevation, gaining. I feel like I'm slowed up through this section. It's just tight single track, not good passing, but honestly when it gets a little bit more open, these guys take off. I'm not really able to do anything with that anyway, so I just kind of go with the flow here for a while. Front end washed on me there, kind of lost it. I never really felt like I was completely in sync with my bike during this race. It was hard to settle in, is all I could describe it. I felt pretty good, my conditioning was good. I had struggled with arm pump in round 1, but didn't have that today, so that was good. But at the same time, I don't know if it was just the difficulty or how challenging the course was. It just never really got into my groove at all, and I did okay. But I think if you guys ride much, you know what I mean when you say, when you just never quite, or feel, just never feeling it. I was trying, but things just weren't clicking for me. A lot of rocks, a lot of stones. This downhill here, this is tough. There's a little bit of drop off to a ledge and you think you're alright, and then it picks up again. If I recall, this downhill hasn't been used for a couple years. You got to make a sharp left at the bottom. I don't remember doing it last year, but 2 years ago I remember doing it, and that was really the first year I had raced, and I think I wrecked every time. So I guess I am improving a little bit. I was able to do that downhill every lap without issue. But it was also pretty dry. I think I remember the year that we used that before, and it was definitely a wetter course. Trying to keep up with these guys. And then I lift the front wheel and try to turn at the same time. That just doesn't work. And I really feel like as I watch this video here, I really kind of get out of my rhythm after that happened. I think I was feeling good, keeping up with everybody, keeping pace, And then when that happened there, and I kind of lost that, just like right here, I start losing it for some reason. I come out of it, but that shakes my confidence for some reason. I need to be able to just shake that stuff off and get going. But now, as you can see, the guys I was keeping up with are just out of sight now. You know, I put myself in between two trees to get out of the way. I kill the bike again. Not good. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody now. I mean, I eventually do again, but I've obviously lost some ground here. Lost my pace. It's like there's one guy up there in a red jersey I'm keeping up with. Log jump. Some things I do alright. Holler always is good to have these off-camber sections with some roots to toss you off. Bike's running great. I think it was around 60 degrees. It cools off, the temperatures do, between the start and stop of the race. It kind of cools down. Bike seemed to like it. Really haven't made any adjustments to it for you guys that follow my videos. I'm running the Bellatron on the TE300. One thing I did when I was out practicing a couple weeks ago was the Bellatron has a screw that kind of opens up the fueling on the top end, and I opened that up like a quarter of a turn, and it likes to rev out a lot better now. But I haven't touched the idle or they have a needle of sorts. I haven't touched the height of it in a long time. Now this looks like it's fresher cut trail here, just for this race. A lot of leaves are still on the ground from the fall. It is a good thing it hadn't rained more. This would have been a completely different race. that might have been a little raindrop that got on my camera. I was unaware of it, so I had to just kind of wait for it to dry off. Pretty good little hill climb there. I was able to anticipate it though. That's the thing about the Holler, they'll take you through some hill climbs that you don't expect sometimes. And if you don't have the momentum, you're just gonna lose it real quick. I don't know why I do dumb stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's raining some more. That's what you're seeing on the lens there. Another good hill climb. Did that one pretty clean. One time I ended up in that tree right there, the branch that was down. This little off-camber climb will mess you up too. I did that pretty clean. I think my next couple laps I did not do that one as clean. But when I was fresh I did it well. There's Ed Fessler on his electric KTM. So those guys are row 10, and I'm row 12. And I know they're faster than me, and I can't figure out how I've got ahead of them. So now it's in my mind that I've somehow cut the track. Turns out, after talking to Ed later, those guys had taken a wrong turn, and I'd gotten ahead of them because they went 2 or 3 minutes out of their way. So no harm, no foul. They just went a little bit extra. But yeah, that was messing with me. I couldn't figure out how guys who I know were fast, Masters A guys, were behind me. Either I was doing so terrible that they had lapped me, but I mean, if someone was going to lap me, that should have been the row 1 guys, not those guys, not at this point in the race. So I know this is going through my head right now for a while, like what in the world? I know I'm not doing that good, but how come Masters A is lapping me halfway through the first lap? Yeah, that was Ed, and Tommy Zell was another rider there, and I don't know who the third guy was. There's always a little challenge there to hit that little gap between the rock at the top of the hill. Downshift. This is one of those climbs that just keeps on going. Okay, so that guy's sitting there. I should have taken note as to why he was sitting there, because I got caught off guard on this hill climb. And you can't tell it really, but I'm definitely just kind of waddling the bike up the hill right now. because I was not ready for that. Luckily it wasn't too slick, and luckily my M5B from last year was still hooking up good. Like I said, I just kind of ran some regular, really my practice tires today, because I didn't really see a reason to bring the gummies because it wasn't supposed to rain. And really it wasn't an awful decision. It was fine until towards the very end when it started raining a lot more. You can always count on an old IRC M5B to get you up a hill. You notice we're still gaining elevation. If you're ever out at the Holler, like the highest point you can see is up on this kind of ridge that has some exposed rock. And eventually you'll see that's where we're headed. Row 13 guy passing me. Oh, there's someone behind me, but I think he messed up. Here's where the rocks start to get real nasty. You gotta pop it up here between the two trees. I do alright with this though. No real issue. And then you get the false sense that maybe you're done with those rocks. It's not going to be the case. I've only ever been up here once, and it wasn't during a race, so this was all I knew about the area, but I'd never tried to race it before. To me, this was like an area that you wouldn't want to try to get to on your own if you're just out here riding. You need to bring a buddy, so make sure you can get back. It gets kind of treacherous. A little bit of rocks coming back. There's kind of a rock shelf right there, and I missed first gear. I wanted to pop the front wheel and I got hit neutral, so that messed me up. So now we're really approaching the highest point at the Holler right here. At least the highest I've ever been on. Now you get into some sketchy descent. This being probably the sketchiest. And I tell you what, this first time down here, instead of going left like that guy did, I kind of go right, and that is not a good place to go. You could really be in trouble if you went too far right there off a cliff. But I make it. No big deal. A lot of this stuff's very doable if you take your time. It's just that during a race you're not supposed to be taking your time. You need to be either fast or smooth, and I was neither Another pretty tough downhill right here. At least initially, then it smooths out. But I have gotten better on downhills, so I might not be fast, but downhills used to freak me out so bad. Now this hill right here doesn't look like much because I do it real clean on this lap, but there's a branch that's hanging down. It's not my field of view because of my helmet visor that I hit my head on lap 2 and about knocked me off the bike. Good thing I wasn't standing up like I was supposed to be. Looks like I'm motivated to pick up some time here in the rocks. Probably thinking to myself, surely the hardest parts are behind me. I feel like I've been through this. Possibly is true. Sometimes it isn't the hardest things that trip you up, though. That guy got off track. These rocks will toss you. Yeah, I'm talking to myself. For a while, there's things that look so familiar, I feel like I've already erased it. I started to wonder if I had somehow doubled back, but I hadn't. Normally, we hit this ridge going the opposite direction, so this was kind of interesting going down it. Now we get into some fresh cut stuff. This is messing with me. I don't know if it's the leaves or what, but alright. I'm not able to really read the terrain that well. As we get up here, you'll see I'm not the only one struggling with it. So this turned out to be really kind of one of the more unpredictable sections of the course. The off-camber situation was real. And from perspective here on the GoPro, it just looks like, well, why don't you go right? Well, it was not a clean line. or you had to really anticipate it and hit it. It wasn't something you were just going to take off from a stand still and get. So I go left, which is good, but then I end up against this tree. I lose the rear end on a rock probably. Try to pick it up and it just wants to go right back down in a hole. So I take my goggles off so I don't get all fogged up. I really need to add a strap on this bike. There's just not a great place for a strap.
Ready one?
Thank you.
No problem, man. No problem.
Guy helps me out.
Are you good?
I think he's gonna help me. I think.
Okay.
I didn't want to do no hard enduro, did you?
Yeah. Well, that's weird. I've had people in row 10 passing me, but I haven't seen row 1 again.
Yeah, see, it's still freaking me out about the row 10 guys. I was convinced either I'd gone off course or done something twice or was just doing so horrible that I was being lapped by guys halfway into the first lap. I just didn't know what was going on. Anyway, that was a pretty tough little section. I think the second lap I did it a little bit better. And then the third lap I did it clean, finally. Just had to really avoid that tree that I got my rear tire hung up on. And I just let my engine do my braking down this hill. I don't often do that, but I tell you what, it was a good speed to do it, and boy, my engine ran clean after that. It was so crisp after being ran like that. So now we are really past all the hard stuff. The rest of this is just pretty much up into the trees, back down, up into the trees, back down, which the Holler has a lot of. There's a little creek jump down here but the right, but I
No creek jump for me.
choose not to take it and just go across. This course here, you can see the green arrows. This is where and the blue, this is where the morning race went. So the adventure bikes did this type of stuff. They ran into a couple issues, I'll show you. So that one wasn't too bad. That's a pretty good hill climb on an adventure bike. This one was clean, really. No big deal here. This one was sloppy. I would not want to do that on an Africa Twin or a Triumph Scrambler. I think this is where Drew got stuck on his Triumph, right about there, if I'm not mistaken. Got another one there. This last one here is the one they cleaned out a little bit for the PM race. I think some of the adventure bikes never made it up this hill. They were stuck here at the end of the race. So what you see here isn't so bad, but it was really bad during the AM race. I'm getting my water in my mouth. That's why I took a break there. You maybe need to look in one of those things that keeps your tube up there in your helmet. That might be a good investment. I'm always having to grab the thing and shove it under my helmet. Another low branch, low tree. Finally back out into the pasture. Whew. I know it's running through my mind now as I'm about ready to go through start finish. I'm thinking, how many more times am I going to do this in 100 minutes? It turns out I only did it 2 more times. I could have gone 4 laps. I still had a white flag or yellow, whatever flag, to go 1 more lap after the 3rd, and just decided not to do it because the rain was starting to get pretty bad and those open areas were getting really slick. So this was first of 3 laps.
5, 6, 7.
Bet C, and I think I showed 10th place every time I went through, so I just held the 10th place. Show you guys the little enduro section here that we went through after scoring, and then wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you at round 3. Later.